How's it going, guys? We're going to take a quick look at the chart. So there's a lot of things going on at the moment, in my opinion. So let's just mention that we had GDP yesterday, and it was not negative. Okay, and we have PMIs today, which measures inflation, and the PCE, which are important. Both are actually pretty important measurements for inflation. So we will see how that turns out. And let's start off with looking at Bitcoin in a few different perspectives. So I just want to go over first the 8-hour scenario. And then we're going to go over the whole picture. But first, let's just discuss the current framework that I'm watching most closely. Okay, so this is the idea I shared on Twitter, but we're going to go in a bit more detail than that particular tweet. So what is important here to mention is that we had this price move up into the range highs. Okay, so we went into the range highs. We saw a rejection into all-time highs. Okay, we sold off, and now we are making a sideways pattern here. Okay, so it's a compression of liquidity, right? So up move, back down, compression of liquidity, something like this. Okay, and quite often, don't want to say always, but often you will see this turn and move into the upside and then back up. And I think it does seem very likely in my opinion, okay, at the moment. But of course, we can just move up from current price point. But also we have a SR point right there. And then we have, this is the consolidation, okay, of liquidity. And then we're having below that the candle with void, okay. So just based on price action itself, this is sort of the key level of liquidity. Okay, so I think a move into that should offer a response, at least back up to retest, in my opinion, and then maybe something like this, and then move higher. Okay, that's sort of what I'm watching. Okay, and and this is sort of the idea I have on Bitcoin. But if I look at these altcoins, I think the more we trade here, I think the more and more likely it is sort of become. If you look at on the daily. Or RNDR, you can see here that as I was bullish, we actually started to break down, and this, instead of bouncing here and create sort of a pattern like this to move upwards, we're actually trading below it. So it does seem more and more like it just want to sort of break down right into this here, and then sort of create sort of the new here liquidity. And that means that this sort of framework should mimic whatever you see on the lower end. Okay, so that's why I exited this trade. And the same goes for Solana as well, right? So, arguably, you're having the core of liquidity there, the void, price move, and then back up. Just seem likely. If I'm wrong on this, that means that, we're going to do something like that, and then price come back down here, and that's will be sort of the place to bid. And then if we take that higher, that means that this will be sort of the reaccumulation range, okay? So that's sort of the thesis on all altcoins. You can see the same on Ethereum. Right there, you're having, the void here. Okay, this is a 4-hour chart. You can do it on the 8-hour. Even on the 8 hours, actually looks even better. This is the core. Instead of breaking higher, at the moment, it seems like, we're just resting here. Maybe something like this, and then sort of move higher. Reaccumulation phase there. We don't know how deep that week will go, but let's just assume it won't be too aggressive. Something like that will be sort of the main thesis for Ethereum. And if you look at the weekly on near, it also doesn't look too good, right? So I don't see, any major, thesis here on the bull case at the moment. Okay, we were looking good for a moment, and then turned back into a complete scam. Okay, so just sort of just have to be patient and see what happens. Okay, and the same goes here for Bitcoin. You can see here this is a bit more easier sort of chart to look at, and you can see how this seems here that price wants to come back down, and see if you can go back up. Now if you look here on S&P 500, it does seem like we're catching a small bid here into the lower end here. Okay, so that's sort of a positive thing. We're starting to see some good 4-hour potential signal here coming in on S&P. The 8 hours starting to form something, okay, but on the 8 hour here, it does seem like we can move higher, okay, lower. So the main scenario here is that if this is the low, that means that this here consolidation should come back up, retested. Okay, if you start trading like this, then I would assume that we're going to continue higher. But until then, we just have to assume sort of that that price will continue to move lower into towards maybe 5,200 or whatever. It's easier to, if you look at the daily, you can see how it's starting to look a bit better. It does so, to be honest. Okay, it does, and also the 1 hour. There's starting to come in some signals. We had a buy signal there, but it didn't get realized. The bearish flows were too heavy, and always remember that a single 1 hour signal by itself, just after a major breakdown with no other major signals, is not the best case. It's just something to watch. But if you look on the daily, I think we can go lower. Right, we just sort of SR retesting right there, so we're gonna see how that turns out. It's a difficult place. It doesn't look. It looks like we might try to reverse, but overall, we are for more upside. The dollar is kind of irrelevant. I would say. I think all the flows are in equities, and I don't think the dollar really matters at the moment. I think it's just range bound. Until the Federal Reserve actually makes some kind of a new decision of how to move forward. Okay, so this is sort of the thesis, or how PA looks like, in my opinion. It looks like you want to go lower overall, right? So since that's the case, we just have to bear with this sort of main concept and see sort of where it takes us. So if that's the concept, let's do a top-down analysis here for Bitcoin. Okay, so this is the 4. We have to go to the 4-hour chart, 8 daily. Okay, so let's take off these ones. All right, so if you look at the 1 hour right there, so on the 4 hour there's no signals, right? So you can see we have no signals, so we're in consolidation phase where we don't have any signals at all. Not even on the 1 hour, we're getting a few signals every now and then, but we don't get anyone here. We're having a bearish signal at the top there. The 4 hour negative, there's nothing at all. 8 hour, no signals. We had only the bearish signal close to the top here, right? And then on the daily, there's nothing there as well. Okay, and then we're having the weekly, right? So you can see just by this PA that I think a move towards 65K would be pretty good for now. The flows on the Bitcoin COT, nothing, right? You can see that there's no change, right? So there's no change, which means that also what you see on PA, right? We just flat, right? So we flat. So when you look at COT, the thing is that if price goes too much up, right? And you want to see that if it continues to go up, you want to see if people are actually selling it or if they're holding, right? And if price is going drastically lower, right, like this, you want to see if people starting to buy. Okay, that's sort of the reason, or how you want to view it. Okay, so you want to view at extreme levels, meaning that when the COT goes to the bottom, let me just put a trend line for you guys. So a trend line will be around those levels, right, for a good buy, and then this is sort of arguably a good sell would be around these levels, right? So you can see that we actually just in the median line, just in the middle, right? Doesn't really tell us anything at all. So in terms of seasonality as well, there's nothing really there, right? Because we are within this contraction phase. And if let's put that into the chart as well. So if this is the top, let's use this one, use it all the way right there. Okay, so this is sort of let's use yeah. So we're getting into a bad place as well, right? So I think you can see right there that we could see a top here in the beginning of June, and then price selling off into July and having a small tiny rally, and then moving all the way down, right? So we are starting to lose the seasonality trend. I was hoping to have seasonality from end of March, like from May until until June. Could have been a pretty good month for a bit more upside, but we didn't get that, right? So that's not the best case. So we are away from, the micro seasonality. Macro seasonality are, sideways pattern. So that's correct. We are crabbing, and that's what it shows. But the micro seasonality are the fluctuations you see from the lowest spectrum of this and to the top, right? So these ones have been slightly off, so we don't see anything right there. Okay, so with this in mind, we arguably there is nothing major actionable, right? Nothing major actionable. So if you look here on some of these altcoins on the weekly, I think still this will be a good place to bid. Question is, will we hold this level before moving higher? Will we deviate a bit below? Like where will the bottom be within this sort of framework, right? And that's what we're seeing. And the more price waits, I think the less better, right? So I think it becomes the more amount we wait without moving, I think it becomes less and less good, right? Worse and worse, basically. So for me, the way I view this, just to give an example of PA, that's the fractal of this. Meaning, again, so if you put this on top of each other and we use this bar chart, so we have this nuke into that support, right? So that means that we should see something like this just on a micro scale, right? Because this is major, this is much smaller, right? So if you make that much smaller, that will be something like this, right? That will be sort of the same concept, just micro, just push it out, even something like this. So if this, let's say August, right? So we can even push it out a bit further, right? So that means that something like this could be reasonable, okay? Even if you go lower, doesn't really matter, right? So the point is just the time aspect here that comes into play, which should be around October, right? So if you don't move at all, September, October, let me find, right? So that means that around these levels, we should see price starting to move, right? So there could be something like that going on. We can have some price action while moving into October, but usually you get a sell-off. So I would assume that maybe, you would get something like coming back down, back up like this, something like that, and then moving higher, okay? So I think that's the main concept at the moment, okay? So I hope this helps. When there's nothing really to update, I can't really do anything. So after the PMIs today, we are going to see sort of the overall conditions. I think it's better to micro trade at the moment, not trade, hold on with great conviction, because if there is not any major move coming, there is no point being stubborn, right? Because nothing major is coming your way, right? And when I mean major, I mean there won't be a significant trade the coming months, right? There will be more sideways, but you can have momentum inside the sideways, meaning that, let's see here, point is that, you can move into this level, back up like this. You can have decent price moves, right? But they will be sold, there will be stuff happening. You won't have a trend, and by trend is something like this, right? You won't have like a trend where whatever you do, whenever you buy, it pays off, right? This is when you buy and it doesn't pay off, right? It pays off to actually being stubborn, take profit, micromanage your stop loss, micromanage your take profit, paid off. While this time it didn't pay off to micromanage, right? It just paid off to do the opposite. So the way you can use that is to understand that it pays off to micromanage when price is sort of in a sideways pattern, right? And that is sort of what we're currently seeing, in my opinion, on the grade. In terms of time aspect, in the chart, we're still in a good uptrend, but in terms of time, I think we're going to do more crab. I think, looking at the weekly, it will make sense to just go sideways and then into October. I don't think there is any major pullbacks coming. I don't think that. I think 55K is the bottom. until 2025 and later. But you just have to see how things go. Okay, so that's enough for today. Don't got anything else to update. Okay, guys, peace out.